Hello, YouTube! Been a while since we've been here, huh? Told you I'd do another, and inspiration struck. But before that, I think we have some ground to cover, right? Right. Okay, real quick. So, deep breath and... solid, but admittedly slightly forgettable, but it did give us both Yelena Belova and Taskmaster, so definitely some highlights. Awesome. Easily one of my new favorite first solo movie outings. Both Shang-Chi and his world are well developed, and I cannot wait to see more. Plus, more Wong is always a good thing. Also very good in a different sort of way. The grand cosmic story with characters thousands of years old was fascinating, and both the Eternals themselves and the Celestials could easily become major players in the future. Please don't Thor Ragnarok this. Amazing, best of the trilogy, loved seeing the already great people come back, and hey, Andrew Garfield got some closure and finally got to be in a good Spider-Man movie, so good for him. We're getting a new Tom Holland trilogy, right? I'm not ready to lose this Spider-Man yet. As for the shows, yeah, I never did a major recap video. Loki and Sylvie were great, but I'm sorry, I never bought Loki falling in love at first sight, even if it was with himself. And hey, our first look at Kang, something I kinda sorta called. Bizarre and fun, it's a show for obsessive MCU fans who like seeing the pieces put together in unique and interesting ways. So yeah, for me, it was great. Kingpin, Kingpin, Kingpin! Yeah, the show, it was alright. Okay, we good? We good. So this video is actually going to be a little different from the other MCU videos I've done, which have so far been preparing for the next big release, which I could not keep up with. So while this will focus on an upcoming movie, in particular this one, I will be tightening my focus on one important aspect. So the big question that has been hanging around the MCU ever since Disney bought Fox was all about one word: mutant. With Fox's X-Men wiped clean, we are undoubtedly going to get our own version of them in the MCU. Or are we? Ever since the buyout, one of the first pieces of information that came out was that they would make Deadpool 3, and as of right now, that seems to be the case. How can Deadpool not make a joke about that? It's Deadpool. He has to comment on the House of Mouse's purchase. So where does that leave the mutants? Well, I, like many others, assumed that the MCU would just create their own mutants, give them a brand new status quo, and we'd go from there. But unfortunately, thanks to this guy, we have a wrinkle. Patrick Stewart, who at first said he would not be in Doctor Strange 2, has changed his tune and now says he is. The question then becomes, what of the mutants and the X-Men? This could just be another Ralph Bohner joke, but I don't think so this time. The sequel to Doctor Strange is subtitled The Multiverse of Madness, and already has the main Stephen Strange meeting a time variant of himself. Most likely an evil one if that goatee is anything to go off of. Just screams villainy. Now what I think is that Patrick Stewart is playing a Professor X, one that is part of the Illuminati, a powerful secret organization in the comics that both Professor X and Stephen Strange have been a part of. Maybe they will be protecting reality and the multiverse. But does that mean Multiverse of Madness will somehow bring the mutants into the MCU? Maybe, but to me that could get complicated really quickly with universes folding in on one another, and then what do you do about the actors that people remember playing the X-Men? It's messy and convoluted, and the MCU prides itself and works so well because of simplicity. Patrick Stewart should be playing some variant on Professor X, and maybe he is indeed playing the same Professor X from the Fox movies, but I don't think he will be our Professor X moving forwards. Look, I kinda hope I'm wrong about this, because for all the problems with the Fox movies, Stewart's Professor X was not one of them. What I think is most likely is that the Illuminati have been hiding the existence of mutants, along with whatever else the plot of Doctor Strange 2 is. But at the end of the movie, they disband or break apart or go their separate ways or whatever, leaving the door open for mutants to officially come out of the closet in the MCU. I think that fits the MCU brand better than some complicated reality folding over that is, like I said, messy and more complicated than it's worth. It sounds much more like the MCU for them to go, hey, mutants are here, hooray! They were here all along, you just couldn't see them. Heck, maybe even Professor X or someone was hiding them with their telepathy, who knows? Okay, a few more things about mutants I need to get off my chest. Wanda is also set to appear in Doctor Strange 2, and honestly, she's sounding more and more villainous to me. Does she actually turn into a villain? That would be tragic, but watching a hero fall would make for an interesting story, and I do think if mutants are a thing in the MCU after Multiverse of Madness, Wanda will get a bit of change to her backstory, in that maybe the Mind Stone just unlocked her latent mutant gene. Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool and Tom Holland's Spider-Man need to meet. I don't care when, and I don't care how, but they need to. They are too fun of a pair not to meet up somehow. If Patrick Stewart isn't playing Professor X for some reason, then we need to get his Professor X into the MCU for at least a movie or some scenes. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine deserves a place in the MCU. Yeah, I know I just implied that they would have new actors and whatnot, but he's the only other actor other than Stewart that deserves a spot. But I don't want him playing the only Wolverine going forwards. I want him to play Old Man Wolverine. Yeah, that's the stuff. Let him show up and be a badass and have him from an alternate reality or maybe even from the far future. Either way, let him get a few great scenes with the new Wolverine. Just like we got with Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire, and the other guy. And I think that's it. That's all my thoughts about mutants and the X-Men joining the MCU. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will make more of these sometime in the future, and while you're waiting, you're more than welcome to watch me play through some video games in between now and then. Anyway, see you later!